special permissions.
Your Excellency, the joinees team was at the National Assembly of Zambia yesterday when you addressed the House. We interacted with some members of Parliament, and you received rave reviews from them. President Hichilema yesterday also at the state banquet mentioned it. I want to find out what significance is to have Zambia have you to address their National Assembly, and how does it tie into the Pan-Africanism agenda initiated by President Nkrumah, which you are reviving now?
Yeah, thank you very much. If you know the history of diplomacy and official and state visits, one of the highest honors that can be given to a president is to address the country's parliament. And so when I got the program, and it indicated on the program that I'll give an address to the National Assembly, I considered it a very significant honor that the Zambian people have done to me. To be given the platform to address representatives of the people, I think is one of the greatest honors. It gave me a bit of a sense of nostalgia because I've been an MP myself for 3 terms, representing the Bole Bamboy constituency in Ghana. And I know how MPs behave. We are all the same. There's no difference between the Zambian parliament and the Ghanaian parliament. And so when we got in the here's and all that, we all used to do it before. And then also the comments and heckles while you're on the floor. And so Hichilema said I used a trick to disarm the MPs by telling them that I'm used to heckling. Of course, in Ghana, we read the State of the Nation address. And when you read the State of the Nation address, heckling is, a part of the British tradition, which has been a carryover to our traditions. And so I told them I was used to that. But I thought that I should give a speech that highlights what we call the Accra Reset. And the Accra Reset is about what chart Africa should pursue in the changing geopolitical world, because the rules-based system, multilateral system, has become shaky. Countries are acting unilaterally. They are cutting down their overseas development assistance. Humanitarian assistance has gone down. Africa cannot continue going cap in hand, begging for that kind of assistance. We need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. And so I chose to give a speech that rallies Africa together based on the objectives of the Accra Reset, so that we can, one, come together, collective decision making, and then apart from that, carry out internal reforms in terms of our governance and everything, respect for human rights, and all the fight against corruption, accountability, selfless leadership, service, consider leadership as service to the people. All those things are necessary for us to be able to face the rest of the world. And I said the Accra Reset is not about disrupting global partnerships. It's about forging new ones based on mutual respect and shared prosperity. And so that formed the theme of the speech. And I think that it's a carryover from the early days of Pan-Africanism. And, when President Nkrumah said, we need to show to the world that after all, the black man is capable of managing his own affairs. And so we must learn to manage our own affairs. And in all that is the issue of national sovereignty over our natural resources. The colonial period where, our resources were pillaged and just sent away, without any real value coming back to us, must change. I mean, we must take more control of our resources. We must make more out of our resources. We must add value to our resources before we export. We cannot continue to be exporters of raw material and then they go add value to it. They take copper out of Zambia. They go use the copper, produce finished products, and bring the finished products back to Zambia at 1,000 times the cost of the copper ore that they took. Same with Ghana. Manganese, bauxite, and all that are taken in their raw form, and they're used to produce items that are brought back to us at 1,000 times the price. And so in Ghana, we are changing the narrative where we are asking to ban export of raw bauxite and raw manganese. And we've asked the mining companies to set up the refining plants to refine the ore into at least primary processed products before they are exported. With bauxite, we want the full value chain, you know, from the ore to the alumina production, and then to the Valco aluminium smelting, so that we bring it out in its purer form for use as engine blocks for aeroplane manufacture and all that kind of thing. We've started with gold. You saw there was a signing ceremony with Gold Coast Refinery to refine 1 ton of gold a week, which amounts to about 52 tons of gold a year. Our total production from the small-scale mining sector is 104 tons. So if we are refining 52 tons, it means half our production from the artisanal and small-scale mining is going to be processed and refined before we export the refined gold, which has a higher value than when you export the raw bullion, they call it Dory gold. And then when you refine, you're able to get silver, nickel, and other, you know, metals that are associated with gold. And so I think that we can share the same examples with Zambia to push for value addition and then for more, you know, sovereignty over their resources to earn more money. I mean, people can come and take these things cheap, and then our people sit in poverty, just watching them cut away all the wealth without anything coming back in return.
So, Your Excellency, you spoke about sovereignty on resources. One of the causes that it gets stronger is the issue that African countries must trade among themselves, do business among themselves. President Isham has been consistent on this call. I heard you make the call as well on that one, that there must be more trade. This morning we heard that the trade is as low as 20%. What gives you confidence that this is achievable now, particularly looking at maybe your visit to Zambia, Ghana?
The trade is actually far below. It's between 11 and 15% averagely. But why they say 20% is a lot of the informal trade in food across our borders is not captured in the trade statistics. So it might be higher than even 20%, because in Ghana, I mean, they carry maize across the border. They don't go through any border point there. We don't have any border anyway. People walk across from country to country without any restraints. And so we have markets on this side of our border. In Ghana, there are markets on the Togolese side. And so when it's market there, people carry yams and, you know, potatoes and cassava and everything and cross and go and trade. And when it's a market day on our side, the Togolese come. A lot of that trade is not captured in the statistics, so it might be higher. But the formal trade is quite low. It's estimated at about 11%. It's the lowest amongst all continents. And so it was a good news when we passed the protocol on the African Continental Free Trade Area, whose secretariat is based in Accra. Now, there are two challenges the African Continental Free Trade Area face. First is the issue of standards. Actually, three. First is the issue of standards, harmonizing our standards, which is what we in Zambia are working at. The second is payments and settlements. You know, we have to exchange dollars to buy products from Ghana. Ghanaians have to exchange dollars to buy products from Zambia. We must get rid of that. We must find a way of trading in our own currencies. And that is what the Pan-African payments and settlement system is supposed to achieve. The third challenge is the logistics for moving goods amongst African countries. Because of our colonial experience, the railway lines, the roads and everything are designed in a way to export, you know, to Europe and other places and not to ourselves. You find that between two countries, even the road network is poor. If I wanted to export goods to Senegal or Morocco, the road between Ghana and Senegal hardly exists. I mean, in some places a dead track, you know. And so we were not meant to trade amongst ourselves. We were meant to trade with our European colonizers. And so the logistics were not there. Short railway tracks just to bring things, extract raw material from our countries to the ports for export to Europe and other places. So infrastructure, the logistical infrastructure for trading amongst ourselves is also a problem. And that's why we have to leverage the money to be able to put in that infrastructure. There must be trains going between Zambia and Ethiopia, Zambia and, you know, I'm sure you have a train rail between you and Mozambique or something. But there must be trains going everywhere where we can carry heavy cargo cheaper. There must be roads interconnecting our countries. And if we're able to put in that infrastructure, the trade will develop, the trade networks will develop, so that it's not more expensive to trade amongst ourselves than to trade with Europe. All the ships are going to Europe. If I send a container to Tema Port just now and I say I'm sending it to Rotterdam or to Netherlands or to somewhere, within 2 weeks it should be there, or even less, because there's always a ship going. But if I say I'm bringing something to Zambia, it will have to probably go to South Africa. How many ships go from Ghana to South Africa? I might even have to ship it to Europe and put it on another ship to come to South Africa, and then from South Africa to transport it to Zambia, you know. And so it increases the freight charges and all that. So those are the main logistical constraints, and these are the things that we discussed with President Hichilema to see how we can improve trade amongst ourselves. And today at the Business Forum, one of the important things he said was that let's generate import lists of our two countries, and let's look at those import lists. Ghana imports beef. Zambia has excess beef. Can we import our beef from Zambia instead of importing it from Argentina and Brazil? You know, Ghana produces aluminium products, electricity transformers, and all that kind of thing. Can we import those transformers from Ghana instead of from China? Once we have the import list, we can look at where Zambia has a comparative advantage and where Ghana has a comparative advantage, and begin to increase the volumes of trade amongst ourselves.
Your Excellency, the Joine's team was in the Central Business District of Lusaka, and we interacted with some of the market women there. A 72-year-old woman I spoke to said Ghana and Zambia are like twins inextricably tied at the umbilical cord. And she said this because of the current trajectory the two countries are. However, we know the power of global shocks. Our inflation is currently 3.8 in the single digits, all-time low. But we know the power of global shocks. No economy is immune to that. I will find out from you, does that keep you awake at night, or you think we have sufficient, buffer to continue on the path that Ghana is on currently?
Oh, it keeps every leader awake at night when the next global shock will happen.
Yeah.
It could be a financial meltdown.
Yeah.
It could be a pandemic. It could be earthquakes, volcanoes, disruption of international travel, and all that. So these things, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when, because these shocks will come, and they come in different magnitudes, some more severe, some, on the lighter side. And so every country must aim at creating what I call a resilient economy, an economy that has enough shock absorbers or buffers to be able to stand external shocks. When I spoke with President Hichilema, we recognized immediately the similarity of the trajectory on which both our countries have been. He took over a difficult economy and has been implementing quite bold reforms to turn the economy around. And results are beginning to show in terms of lower inflation, stronger value of the Zambian kwacha, and all that. The macroeconomy is looking better, the investment environment is looking better. And it's exactly similar to Ghana. Like Zambia, we also just came out of a debt restructuring. I also inherited a very difficult economy. Inflation at 23.4%. the local our currency, just kept depreciating in value, and aside from that, investor confidence was low. Foreign direct investment had gone down, and so we've all been implementing quite bold reforms. And in Ghana, as in Zambia, the turnaround has happened and results are beginning to show positively. One of the things we need to do is to build our foreign reserves, which is what we're doing in Ghana. In 1 year, we've moved our reserves from $8.9 billion to $13.4 billion in 1 year. We want, over the next 3 years, to increase our reserve position to beyond $20 billion, so that if anything happened, we would have enough buffers in terms of our reserves to be able to tide over whatever shock it is. And so I think that one of the things to do is to build the foreign reserves. The other thing is the creation of an environment that is conducive to business, so that you have a multiplier effect in terms of people's incomes and opportunities for people. Because ultimately, your reserves alone are not able to do it. It is boosting the per capita income of your people, so that if anything happens, they still have the kind of income or capital to be able to survive or to bring themselves back up. Look at what happened with our economy. Many companies collapsed completely. There are people whose businesses, no longer exist. But if we're able to run our economy in a way that creates opportunity and makes people able to invest in bonds and other things, after a global shock, they're able to liquidate their bonds and either build their industries back, or if they have collapsed, to invest in some new area. I think that's what we should be doing.
Your Excellency, this could be a double-barreled question for me. One is that you're moving the relationship from the historical one to economic one, and you've pledged a more advanced framework, which name is being designed. What practical benefits are citizens of the two countries likely to see soon?
President Chilema said something very profound. He said, the economy is at the basis of everything. You can talk about education, you can talk about agriculture, you can talk about anything. If the economy is, not doing well, you can't raise the resources to invest in these areas. And so the economy is at the basis of everything. And that is why we say we should move to an economic partnership agreement, so that we're able to exchange knowledge and material in areas where we have comparative advantages. And I mentioned some of them at the Business Forum. Zambia's agricultural sector is very well developed, and so they have developed the research to produce improved seeds and so on and so forth. I think they are at a level that is far higher than we are, and so currently we import improved seeds from Zambia, and President Chilema was very gracious to give me 1 ton of maize seed for my farm, and so I thanked him for it. I'm going to use what I can and then distribute some of the seeds to farmers who are neighboring my farm. And so I believe that it will be beneficial, economic partnership agreement. One, it will boost trade between our two countries, and two, it will allow us in real time, because of the similarity of our countries in mining and all that, to be able to compare notes for our own mutual benefit.
Your Excellency, if I don't ask this question, I'm sure our compatriots and then of course Zambia as well watching us right now will not be happy with me. You've triggered a new wave. It's a Fugu revolution in Ghana right now. A lot of Ghanaians have posted pictures of themselves in smoke. Today at the Independence Square, renowned photographer Yao Pare is organizing a free photo shoot for all the people who in smoke who come to the Independence Square. One of my colleagues at Joy News Hits FM, he launched a Wear Fugu Friday just yesterday and is receiving a lot of reviews. I want to find out from you. You have always been a supporter of Made in Ghana. In fact, it was actually part of your campaign message, and you've made a conscious effort to always wear locally made clothes. What do you make of the new smoke wave that you've inspired?
Okay, it's called the smock in English,
Yeah.
but in our language, some people call it fugu, some call it batakari. Yeah. Now, this is a traditional dress that is made by a local industry. It's part of our culture, and so in the past, it was worn by kings, royalty, and also warriors. When our warriors were going to war, they wore smocks, and the belief was that the smocks were soaked in some herbs, and then some spiritual thing was done. So when you fire a bullet, it can't penetrate, you know. And so the smock portrays a lot of things in our culture. And significantly, on the day Ghana, the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence, on the day our independence was declared, our president, Kwame Nkrumah, was wearing a smock. He and all the freedom fighters were wearing smocks. So smocks have become an integral part of our cultural identity. And I've won the smock to the United Nations, the highest platform in this world. I'm surprised that Zambians didn't see me in a smock last September.
You came closer.
Yeah, when I gave the speech that everybody's talking about, I was wearing a smock. I'm surprised that they didn't notice it till I visited Zambia. But the smock weavers in Ghana will be very happy because I, by power of social media, have giving them branding and marketing that they couldn't ever have dreamed of ever getting, and I'm sure that by the time I leave here, the number of searches for fugu, batakari, and smoke, is going to be quite high. And it was just because of an innocuous statement. People were commenting about my arrival, and one person said, "Oh, but what blouse is he wearing?" That's it. And it triggered a whole social media firestorm. But incidentally, you know what? When I arrived, we exchanged gifts, myself and President Chilema. He gave me a beautiful carving, Zambian carving, and I appreciate it very much. I'm going to put it in my office and label it as a gift from President Chilema. And then I gave him a fugu. So what I wore, I gave him one of that. And so he said he's going to order some more and then distribute it to his Zambian countrymen. But one of the things that I have brought into my presidency is to promote the local garments industry. And so all my clothes are made in Ghana. They are sewn by Ghanaian designers. Yeah, so all these safari suits and things I wear are sewn by local designers. And that's what I wear every day, to work, to official functions. And the thing is, I told President Chilema, I can understand that you wear suits because your part of the continent is colder. Our part is warmer than yours. And so we need to adapt to clothes that make us comfortable in the warmer weather. You probably have to wear a jacket, and so you have to wear a suit or something to be able to keep yourself warm. But we have to wear clothes that will make us feel cooler. And so it's more appropriate for me to dress like this than to wear a suit and a tie in the hot sun. And so that's it. But I thank Zambians for marketing our fugu for us. And it might become an export item in our bilateral trade. We'll export some fugus here and create a new fashion trend.
Your Excellency, on that lighter note, I wish to thank you.
I know something. The fugu is appropriate because you see the sleeves are very big. And then from under to, when the weather is hot, you are able to get ventilation, from it. Yeah.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed your stay in Zambia.
Very much.
I wish you a safe travel.
I'll be back. But this time on vacation, I'm not going to come to work.
To visit the Victoria Falls.
Victoria Falls, yes.
You've been watching a special interview with the President of Ghana, His Excellency John Mahama. I'm your host, Revisers, on behalf of my co-host, Maxwell
Agbaba from John.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
We had the final interview. Let me take pictures.
What?
Okay.
I have to wait to be unshackled. in my microphone. And this one, so I can take a photo.